Our elementary school art class is oftentimes our first look into cultures other than our own. Since the early half of the 20th century, during the tenure of School Arts magazine editor Pedro J. Lemos, art education in American schools transformed to include instruction about Native American arts and crafts. It was his vision to have America gain its own aesthetic qualities in the arts by reaching into its continental past rather than into past Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and Renaissance forms of art. Lemos viewed southwestern U.S. native art as the culmination of what he envisioned for a new American aesthetic. It was during his period as editor that an article and lesson plan was delineated by an art teacher in School Arts magazine about creating Hopi Katsina dolls in the classroom. Since then, in many elementary art curricula, Katsina dolls have been emulated in the classroom. What's a Katsina doll? It is a physical representation of one of the Hopi's Katsinas, the Hopi spiritual messengers, their link between the mortal and spiritual domains. The Katsinas are believed to visit Hopi villagers for half of each year, and they are thought to have power over rain and other types of weather. The Katsinas have functions other than providing rain, however. Katsina dolls are often gifted to young girls and brides on dance days to familiarize them with the Katsinas and the myths and lore of the Hopi tribe and its clans. It is traditionally carved from cottonwood root and is adorned in colors, symbols, and patterns that are meaningful to Hopis. Regardless of the Katsina doll's original purpose, it is now a highly sought-after commodity outside of Hopi communities. Not surprisingly, the sale of imitation Katsina dolls is a lucrative business. Many Katsina dolls on the market are made overseas or in factories instead of being produced by legitimate Hopi artisans. According to some estimates, the number of imitation Katsina dolls on the market each year may exceed more than 100,000. Inevitably, this returns us to the original concept of Hopi Katsina dolls in American art education. Many American children are taught about Katsina dolls and Hopi culture through their elementary school art classes. My mother, my elementary school art teacher, in fact used a Katsina doll lesson plan to introduce the Hopi Indians in a unit on Native American art. A person can find various permutations of Katsina doll lesson plans online for a variety of grade levels and using a variety of art and craft supplies. The Katsina doll lesson stuck in my mind, not necessarily as a reminder of Hopi culture, but as a novelty in the supplies we were given that year to use. Each student was given as a base for their Katsina doll a toilet paper tube to give a cylindrical base to the Katsina doll. The rest of the supplies consisted of scraps of construction paper, beads, yarn, and a Sharpie marker. My mother left several reference sources and books along the counters for us to rummage through. Some of us may have emulated the authentic Hopi Katsina dolls in the books, some of us may not have. It was a fun project at the time, but looking back on it, over a decade later, I wonder if such emulation is a compliment or an insult. Is it degrading to have an art based on a culture's spirituality be mimicked by using toilet paper tubes or egg cartons as basis for that art? I wonder now what effect, if any of this has on the Hopi tribe and Hopi artisans. Have such projects raised interest in the Hopi and other tribes and nations in a good or bad way? Has the increased interest in Native American arts in the art classroom led to the purchase and production of fraudulent native crafts?